Hey everyone, it's Joe from Gadgetry Tech, and today I'm going to review the DrunkDeer A75 keyboard. Yes, DrunkDeer. I'm not sure where the name came from. I'm not really focused too much on that. It's an odd choice, but I really want this to be about the keyboard. And there are a few unique things that I want to say of why I like this. Now, I'm not a professional hardcore keyboard reviewer. I'm starting to get more into keyboards, which is, God help my wallet. I hear it's a very dangerous, slippery slope. But anyway, DrunkDeer did send this to me for review, so I want to give a huge thanks to them. It won't affect what I say about it. I run a very honest channel here. I don't have any kickbacks or marketing, so if I put any links in the description below, nothing has been set up for me to receive any payment of any kind. So I just want to get that out of the way. I cover stuff like this because I like it. I like covering stuff like this. I like using it, and it helps me learn about products. And as I learn, I share that with you from my experiences. So let's talk about the basics. This is a retail price of $150, and as of the time of this review, it's $130. In the configuration, mine came out of the box. It actually had the Mac keys installed, so the command button, option button, etc. But it does come with the keycap puller, and it does come with the 3 keys to convert it to a Windows keyboard. On that note, just so I don't forget, if you press the function 2 button and W for Windows, it will switch the keyboard to Windows mode. And conversely, if you press the function 2 button again and press M for Mac, you can see the keyboard power cycle, and now I am in Mac mode. So very easy to change. It also has this simple braided USB-C cord, nothing fancy, nothing coiled. It's USB-C to C, and then it comes with a C to A adapter. So depending on the computer you're plugging it into, if you use the included cord, you can convert it to A or C. So there are a few things that make the A75 special, and I'm reviewing this as a pro level shroud type esports player. I don't have the time. I used to be a lot better at gaming, especially when like Unreal Tournament and Quake were huge, if that dates me or anything. Or the older Halos. I was really into it back then, and then kind of switched over to Call of Duty. And I do play on keyboard, and I do play on controller. It just depends what I'm in the mood for. But because of my nature of playing, and this is where the whole personal experience thing comes from, every now and then I fat finger a key. I think that's a normal thing if you're not like so fine-tuned. And I'm assuming some pros do it once in a while too, but you have your WASD. And I think a lot of us have thrown a grenade by accident or started a reload sequence, whatever it may be. Happens to me once in a while because of my hands. I don't know if I'm like bowling a china shop on a keyboard, but this keyboard has a unique feature to help combat that. And that's because it uses magnetic switches. A magnetic switch, unlike a mechanical, gives you a lot of flexibility because you can actually change the actuation length on the key. Now, I mentioned using the function 2 button to change from Windows to Mac mode. Well, if you press and hold that down, you have 1 through 9 for your actuation length. Basically, how far do you have to push the key down before it registers a keystroke? Now, if you're not using any of the software built into or installed on the computer, you are basically changing the input, the switch time or switch actuation point for all keys as a whole. The cool thing is with the software, which came out today, the reason why I delayed this review is because I was waiting for the software to come out. This is a brand new board, and the software is in beta right now. And ironically, they call the software Antler. So they really have some intentional thing with deer. So we'll see what happens with future models if they stray away from the A75 thing. Let me keep my computer awake. So anyway, I typically go to about 6. I like a little bit longer actuation. But what's killer about this, now that the Antler software came out, is I can change the actuation point for every key individually. So if you want your WASD to be more instantaneous, if you want to have a double press, you can do that with the software too, where pressing it part way down will activate one sequence and then all the way down, or a second step down, whatever distance you set in the software, will do a second input of that key, which is pretty versatile. But at the same time, for your grenade, your lean, your reload, etc., I can change it so it's a single actuation, but I can set the actuation point almost at the bottom. So I have to make it a very intentional press in order to register that keystroke. For a player like me, that feature is absolutely massive. And this isn't the first keyboard that's done it. SteelSeries has their Omnipoint keyboards with the new Apex Pro keyboards. And Wooting has their 60HE keyboard, which is $175, and the SteelSeries stuff is like $190 to $200. This at the current sell price of $130 makes it one of the most affordable magnetic switch keyboards on the market. And to me, that's a good thing. I don't think they're going for every rich feature set that the SteelSeries and the Wooting keyboards have. This actually is fairly comparable to SteelSeries. It may not have some of the profile switches and things like that, but it does have some really nice standout features. And to me, one of them, the most obvious one, is the form factor. The 75, admittedly, is my favorite form factor. Now, I'm not using that to say this keyboard is better or worse than the others. The Wooting keyboard is getting stellar reviews online. I know Bad Seed Tech dropped a review on it recently and was smitten by that keyboard. The way I work during the day between the function keys and the arrow keys for my day job and in my post-production work, I'm not the type of person that fiddles with all these shortcuts and secondary steps with keys. I still want like a dedicated key for the commands I want to use typically. And the 75 has been my favorite layout. So this is kind of in a unique position where you have the magnetic switch, but in a 75 form factor, which I don't know if this is the only one on the market, but this is definitely one of the very few. SteelSeries goes from this 60 form factor, just like the Wooting, all the way up to the 10 key, just like Wooting. So again, the whole 75 key, I like having the dedicated volume knob, me being an audio guy. I like having my function keys, and the page up, down, home buttons are fine, but I really like having the arrow keys. It's just nicer. Now, the one thing on the keys, they use ABS plastic. I really wish they did PBT. I think high quality ABS can still be great. PBT just seems to have less of a long-term wear issue as far as like the shine goes, but high quality ABS caps don't do that as quickly as the cheaper stuff. So I have had some gaming keyboards with less than a year of use. They already have a shine, which is unfortunate, but this one seems to be nicer. They're still rather thin, but the finish on them is really nice. One thing I really like about the keycaps, though, I'm going to unplug this. Most gaming keyboards, the illuminated keys, when you get into RGB keyboards, the cutout or like the label for every key, so the A, B, C, D, whatever, the spacebar line, they're usually clear and as a result very dark. So when you look at the SteelSeries keyboard next to it, you see how less defined it is. It's almost like ghosted out. Now, some people like this, and that's okay too. I'm not saying this is better or worse. For me, sometimes I don't care for RGB. I don't have it turned on. And this looks like a really classy, normal keyboard because they have the white print on the ABS. I know that's one of the advantages of the ABS caps is I've seen them, like the labels on them. In my experience for the stuff I've owned, they can be very clear, easy to read, etc. So I like that it's white instead of dark, and then when it's RGB, it's still lit up tastefully. You can see here they look really nice once they're lit up. So I want to do a sound test real quick. I'm going to unplug this so I don't screw up the computer. I'm basically just using the Mac over there to keep this bad boy lit up. So I'm going to go through several keys, and just for reference, I'm going to show you the SteelSeries keyboard as well, just so you can kind of hear how they compare. So the noise is interesting. It has its own unique sound to it. And just like my Rockhat Vulcan TKL, this has a little bit of a resonance on the backplate. So there is a little bit of a ring to it. Now this is fairly easy to mod if you have a pry tool, which I don't own right now, but apparently I'm going to be going down that rabbit hole. You can pop this off, and I've seen people take these things apart because you can lubricate the switches to change the sound just a little bit and make it even smoother. I don't mind the way it feels. So what's really noticeable right off the bat is how good the stabilizers are. And even if you're looking at like the arrow key, I'm hoping the keyboard, the top-down view can see that because it's kind of zoomed out. There's very little wiggle here. Now, conversely, if I go to the much more expensive SteelSeries keyboard, and you can look at the difference. That's a pretty drastic change. You can feel that when you type. The DrunkDeer A75 feels incredibly solid. Now, the bottom out portion, when it hits the bottom, is fairly firm. It doesn't have like a soft foam type landing. I know there are keyboard mods out there, but outside the box, it feels very precise, very firm. It's not overly loud, but there is a little bit of a ping to it, you know, if you're pressing hard and letting go quickly as well. Now, in addition to customizing your actuation points on the software, the Antler software, you can also change the RGB settings, and mine did ask for a firmware update when I first connected, so I applied that. Even if you don't install the software, let's say you bought this keyboard because you're using it on a Mac, you want something clean for that. There are a ton of lighting profiles built into the keyboard, and it's as simple as using that function 2 button, FN2, and using your arrow keys to progress through the different lighting modes. There are some that are reactive, so if I hit a button here, you can see it's doing nothing right now, and I'll hit H, and you see how it pulses out from H. So there are some that are more interactive than others. I really liked that star one I was showing you because it's just softer. I don't like a lot of movement. Now on the software online, you can also change the speed and the brightness, and you can change the brightness here too by using the up and down arrows to step up and down depending on how much illumination you want. You can customize and create your own lighting profiles through the software. So if you want one side to be one color or one side to be the other side to be another, you can do that too, or you can even customize the color per key, and there are some predefined groups to save you some time. So magnetic switches, they have their advantages. I talked about the custom actuation length. They're also rated to last a long time because there's no mechanical contact. They're rated for over 100 million keystrokes, which means they should last a very long time. And they also respond very quickly as well. So, you know, the FPS high competitive players, they're going to start gravitating towards switches like these. There's also no debounce on a magnetic switch, so you're not going to have some of those erroneous presses either. So there's a lot of advantages to it. Typically the disadvantage has been cost, and I think that's where the A75 has its own unique place because it's not trying to be as premium, in my opinion, as the SteelSeries or the Wooting, but it feels better than the SteelSeries, as you saw. I don't know about the sound differences, that's more of a preference thing, but the stabilizers and the key fill alone is amazing. Now the SteelSeries gives you PVD caps. These are ABS, but again, these are higher quality ABS. There's also a really nice design for the angle. This is a nice gentle angle, which was the right angle for me. The feet do come out and you can kick it up even higher. And if you do that, to me the angle got too extreme, but at least you can change that in case you need a different height. The volume knob is excellent. It has a very soft tactile feel. There's clicks, but they're soft, dampened clicks. It feels great, and then you can press it into mute. So as an audio person, I absolutely love that volume knob. So that about covers the review. This wasn't too long of a video because I didn't do too much time on the software and customization, partly because the software just came out today. And it wasn't so much lack of testing. I went through everything numerous times and I tried on separate computers, but I just wanted to confirm that I could change the actuation points for each individual key because that is a huge benefit of a magnetic switch. I wanted to make sure that RGB was customizable beyond the internal presets. And then I also learned that you can do secondary inputs too. If you hold down like the function 2 button, I can make, you know, WASD do other things. So there's some extra benefits there. So this is in a unique place because it's giving you the magnetic switches in a 75 form factor at a very low entry price point for those switches. So that extra money could be used towards custom caps, mods to the keyboard, or dare I say a game or a headset or some food. All of that money can be used at other things if this is all you need. So hopefully this review helped you decide if this is all you need, or if now that you know what this can and can't do, you know, maybe you'll go towards others. But I really do like this board. I use it a lot. It is a little bit louder than I typically prefer because I use open back headphones a lot. And it's a little noisy, but so is my OmniPoint from SteelSeries, and I like the way this one feels much more. The stabilizers is the most noticeable thing. It feels so solid and precise and consistent when I type on. I have less typos on this than any other board I own, so it's been great. It really has. And I hope you found this review helpful. If you're not a subscriber, don't forget to like and subscribe, just to do a plug for the channel. If you are a subscriber, thank you so much for the support. I know this is a little bit different than what I normally cover, but I appreciate you checking out the video. With that being said, I'll see you next time. Bye.